Hello and welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for April of 2023. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
And I'm Julia Mijas, and I'm in San Francisco, California.
Okay, let's take a look at what's happening in April. Well, Leo, let's start with Ceres, which is retrograde right now and is traveling along through your second house. And started out this retrograde period in your third house in Libra, but has since then turned backwards, retrograde, and traveled back into your second house, which is actually a really comfortable place for Ceres to be. Now, Ceres has to do with food, body, and money, the things that connect us to the physical world. And when she goes retrograde, I like to call it a financial retrospection. This particular one includes some notes of rebalancing because Ceres first went retrograde in Libra, the balance. But now she's backed up into Virgo in your second house, and she's going to be demanding that you put a lot of meticulous attention on your finances, also on your food and eating, and how you care for your body in general for health and longevity. And she's going to put you in mind of some things that maybe have, you've been slipping on or have been falling by the wayside in those areas. And she's going to just bring them right up and show them to you. And you're going to have to do something about that. And this transit is a really great time for making those kinds of adjustments and changes. Ceres went retrograde in early February. It goes direct in early May, so that gives us about 3 months to sort all these things out. Next thing I want to talk about is Juno. Juno is traveling along through Taurus right here in your 10th house all month. Juno is about relationship. She's about partnership in particular, committed partnership especially, and that can encompass marriage or long-term committed personal relationships, even a friendship of longevity, but it can also include business relationships. And this is, I think, probably what's going to interest you the most because Juno is traveling along through your 10th house, which is the house of business and career. And wherever Juno goes, she brings the spirit of collaboration and partnership. And also, she's a great social networker. So with Juno passing along through your 10th house at a good clip too, at a good speed, she's moving forward very quickly, which really helps her do her thing. This is a really good time for networking on the job or in your career domain in general, in your field. It's also a really good time for some sit down, in-depth conversations with your business partner if you have one. And if your work, your career or business that you do is a consultancy of any kind, including things like therapy, being a lawyer, an agent, an advocate, or just even a coach, then this is a really great transit for that. And those things should go forward pretty well during the rest of the month. Juno is going to finish out the month in Taurus, and then on May 1st, she moves on into Gemini, enters your 11th house. So we'll talk about that when we get there. Hey, Julia, what's up with Mercury, Venus, and Mars for the Leos of the world?
Well, we are going back into retrograde season, Leo, with Mercury. Mercury, the planet of communication, starts off the month direct in your 9th house. It's just there for a couple of days, but your mind might be on faraway places for the very beginning of the month. Maybe you're planning your next big international trip or thinking about going back to school or in school. But by April 3rd, Mercury enters your 10th house. This house represents your career. It's also your public reputation as well. so how other people know you. So that shift means that you're going to be really preoccupied with your career. Maybe you're thinking of changing jobs or projects that you can do at your job. This is also a house that represents authority figures, so there might be more communication with anybody who tells you what to do in your life. But by April 21st, Mercury will go retrograde here. So this might be a time of having to redo things at work, redo plans, redo projects, for example. You may have some miscommunications with your boss too, so try to be as clear as possible when you communicate with them. That could really, really help out. And maybe you're just rethinking your career in general, which we all do have to do from time to time. Now, Venus, the planet of art, beauty, and relationships, she begins in your 10th house and is in there for the first 10 days of the month. So she's going to bring a little bit of extra sort of luck and pleasure to your job. You might really enjoy being at work at the beginning of the month. Then by the end of the month, it might get a little frustrating with miscommunications and squirrely, projects that might go awry, or even computer issues with Mercury retrograde in your 10th that affect your work performance. But with Venus here in the beginning, it's, I think, a good time to really just kind of get along well with the people that you work with. Venus can give a boost to your public image too. So anything you do in the public eye would be really favored for the first third of the month. Then by April 10th, she's going into your 11th house. So where you're going to get the rest of your luck this month with Venus in the 11th is through your friends. They might really be there for you, or you might benefit them. They might benefit you in some way. If you're a part of any groups, this could be a really sort of fun time with them. It's a fun social time for the rest of the month, which is kind of nice. Venus in the 11th can also help you feel like you're getting a little bit closer to your long-term dreams as well. Maybe just kind of feeling like you're just a little bit luckier in achieving them in some way. And then finally, Mars, the planet of feisty, is in your 12th house all month. Now, Mars in the 12th. The 12th is an isolated house. It's a house that represents self-undoing. So we can sabotage ourselves a bit with 12th house planets. So if Mars is the planet of anger, the way you should be a little careful with your anger this month is not sort of bottling it up and being passive aggressive, or, doing sketchy things behind other people's backs, or talking or gossiping behind someone's back, for example. That would count, because funny thing about planets in the 12th house is they tend to blow up in our face in some way. So it's a good idea, if you're a little bit annoyed, maybe just kind of spend some time by yourself and write it out, because this is a house of isolation. So maybe if you kind of find a way to get in touch with your anger on your own, and again, journaling could be really good for that. I think that would be a much better way of handling things. Mars in the 12th is great, I think, for yoga. If you Tai Chi, if you do any type of activity which has an energetic or spiritual component to it, or which might have to do with healing in some way, maybe there's breathing exercises, maybe there's meditation. This could be a fabulous transit for any type of spiritual and healing growth that requires a little bit of activity in your life. And I think that that's the best use of it.
I love that stuff. What great advice.
Mm.
Hi, Jamie here. Before we continue, I just want to take a quick moment to thank you for watching this video. And if you're enjoying this content, please consider becoming a patron on Patreon. Our lowest tier starts at just $5 a month and gives you early access to these monthly horoscope readings. Your support helps keep this content free. The link can be found in the description box below. Thanks again, and let's get back to the video. Okay, well, I got a couple of moons to tell you about. The first one happens here on April 5th. It's a full moon in Libra, sitting right here in your 3rd house. Now, this is awfully sweet. Moon in Libra, that's so diplomatic, that's so nurturing, that's so warm. And it's in your 3rd house of communication, which suggests that you'll have access to that kind of communication style, even if it's not your normal bag during this moon. And I'd say this is true, but I do have to let you know that a couple of rambunctious Aries placed planets are up here in your 9th house opposing that moon. And every time we get a full moon, there can be this quality of oppositionality, this quality of pushback as the two poles of those two signs that are being emphasized here kind of wrestle with each other. And a full moon, in this case, in Libra, opposes a sun in Aries, and then that sun is joined by several other planets. So really, there's a little bit more energy on the Aries side, which lands in your ninth house. And the ninth house is a house of adventure. It's the house in which we express our big voice, our big personality. And sometimes ninth house placements can be a little bit opinionated. And so watch out under this particular full moon for, watch out about getting into arguments where maybe you're trying to be diplomatic and smooth things over and put a little sugar on it. And then somebody else is just, loaded with opinions and just has to cram them down everybody's throat. So that could happen. And it can happen in reverse as well. You might find yourself caught short expressing your own opinions and then realizing that maybe, you've just committed a foot in mouth action there. And some nice person representing the moon in Libra is trying to give you some mirroring in a way so gentle that perhaps you didn't see it. So watch out for those kind of conversations to crop up during the full moon in Libra. And then the other moon happening this month is arguably more exciting. There's more to it because this one is not just a regular old moon, like a new moon, and it is a new moon, but it's also an eclipse. And here you can see it happening right here, 29 degrees of Aries in your ninth house. And so an eclipse is a particularly intense moon. And what eclipses do is they show us our shadow. They really make us look at the stuff behind us that we don't usually like to look at, that we'd rather ignore or evade or just not confront. And this particular eclipse is in the sign of Aries. And so it could bring out some shadow around anger or stuff that you're asserting, or a side of you that's very bold, but also maybe kind of, rough cut, sort of not very refined, shall we say. Now, this moon has a lot of other features that are really interesting, like the fact that it falls in 29 degrees, the fact that Vesta is nearby, the fact that it's near the North Node, and also that it's a total eclipse. So there's really a lot to it. But I think the main thing that I want to tell you right now is that a solar eclipse shows us our shadow through the actions that we take. And the ninth house, where this eclipse lands, does suggest a bid for freedom, a desire for adventure. So under this eclipse, it wouldn't be surprising if you had some behavior that results from some shadow material inside you, something that you don't really like to look at, something pretty unconscious, which causes you to run away, to just totally flee and try to escape whatever it is that's bringing up those sensations. So watch out for that during this eclipse. And I do strongly recommend that you visit our forecast page at our website, pandoraastrology.com. Just add a / and then the words monthly-forecast after that. And you'll find videos about the moons this month and all kind of other news about the month as well. And there you can find out a lot more about what these moons are doing. So that's the 19th. And then the next day on the 20th, we have the new season where the sun leaves Aries and moves on into Taurus. So this is kind of an illustration of how early in the month, there was this big grouping of planets right here in Aries. And then over the course of the month, they migrate successively on over into Taurus right here in your 10th house. So there's this overall feel during the course of the month that the month begins with the spirit of adventure and a desire to grow and expand, and a reach, reaching for freedom, as characterized by the ninth house. So at the beginning of the month, you might find yourself wanting to like explore, get out into the wilds, plan some trips, or even just, travel in your mind with a coffee table book and a nice cup of coffee. But any way you look at it, that energy is going to shift to a greater emphasis in your 10th house of career as the month comes to a close. And that brings the focus directly to the arena of career, authority, your reputation in your public life, and your goals and what you're building in this life. Now, wherever the sun goes, it's good to bring the high quality attention that is our corollary to sunlight. The sun shines on the earth every day, and the sun's shining is the reason why we have life on earth. If we weren't placed in this exact spot, this close to a yellow star, and had seasons and so forth, we wouldn't be able to have life on this planet at all. And so the sunlight that comes to us from our local yellow star is nourishing. And the corollary to that in our lives is attention. Attention is like sunlight. And so wherever the sun goes, you want to bring that sunlight so that things can thrive. And when the sun enters into your 10th house, do that with your career. Bring your attention to your career, bring your attention into the workplace, and be that sunny personality at work, and watch how things thrive and flourish there this month. The sun generally passes through a house for about 30 days. And so you want to do that starting on April 20th to about 30 days later in May.
If you love Pandora Astrology's free and informative horoscopes, please do hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share our horoscopes with your friends.
We make these horoscopes for you for free. And if you appreciate it, supporting us on Patreon is the best way to show it. Share our horoscopes with your friends too. Have a beautiful April, and until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos.
Bye-bye.